Hey guys, um, I wanted to film this video. I promised it a couple days ago about business finance, and a little behind. You can see my eyes are red, and I have a chronic. It's it's like arthritis in your eyes. Essentially, I have a chronic inflammation issue that I've had since I was in my 20s, and been to the eye doctor. Anyway, my eyes get really light sensitive, and this happens about once a year. I think the campground I was in, it was really wet, really damp and nasty there, and I think it flared up some allergy stuff because I was sort of feeling rough there Saturday, and then this set in. So had to go to the eye doctor today. Missed a day's work with my crew. Luckily, I have a great crew down here, so they probably didn't even miss me. But anyway, so had to miss a day, and felt like crap yesterday, and decided that I needed to get this video out because I promised you I would. So, with no further delay, here we go. So we talked the other day about the sales and the sales process, and I made a couple videos on that, about an hour long. Hopefully, this video won't go very long, at least the initial video. But so we've got you making some sales, but now we need to talk about how you grow your business, capital wise, budget wise, that kind of thing. And what I want to touch on to start out is, when I teach, I do a lot of mentor of young people in personal finance. And the first thing I teach in personal finance is that there's essentially two types of money, right? And that is cash and capital. And I keep it simple like that. I mean, we could go in depth and, all that stuff, but cash and capital. And cash is the money that you spend. It's the money that you blow. It's the money you got on a Friday night and have a good time. That's cash. Capital is a tool. It's not money. It's not, you can divide currency into two, cash and capital. Your capital is a tool. That money is made to make you better, to make your life better. So stocks, bonds, real estate, Bitcoin, whatever you think is an investment. I'm not going to tell you how to invest, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of the difference between the two. So you have cash, you have capital. When I buy my race car stuff, it's cash, right? I'm blowing it. I know that it's going to end up, being destroyed and something. But it's a hobby of mine. It's something I've always enjoyed. And everybody has that, right? Capital, on the other hand, is where it gets interesting. So let's talk about that. In a business sense, you don't really have cash and capital, right? Because all the cash that you're taking is being paid out to you as a payment from the business. As an owner of the business, the profit from the business is your payment. So we won't talk about cash on that because, if you guys want to go into personal finance, I'll be happy to talk to you about that. But this is more about business, right? So let's talk about capital. So here is where I think a lot of people get stuck. And it is that they don't know how to properly manage their cash flow and their capital, right? And I'm not going to go into big accounting terms and stuff because it's not who I'm talking to here. If you want to talk to a CPA, go get a CPA and they can explain you balance sheets and profit and loss statements and all that. That's not where I'm going with this. Where I'm going with this is I need you to understand what's going to destroy your business and what's going to grow it. So when my first business collapsed, I told you that I was in business with my father and my uncles. And it took one catastrophic economy, but we were still booming even in the catastrophic economy. We would have survived that just fine. But what happened is, within just a few months of each other, they all had my dad and my uncles, and myself to some aspects, had just horrific health crisis. One uncle passed away, another uncle's liver failed. My dad had a massive stroke. I had a situation with my heart. And within just a few months, we went from, making really good money to essentially being bankrupt, and it was, a tough time. I went from, making well into six figures, close to seven figures a year off the company, to going back to being a maintenance man, I think $16 an hour. So it was a pretty big shock to the system. But what I realized in that time is that we didn't manage our capital at all. We had tons of capital. We had plenty of tools to work with, and we kept it all in stock, and we paid each other out. At the end of a job, whatever the profit was, we just dispersed it between the group, and we didn't retain really anything. we had plenty of lines of credit, we had plenty of assets, but we didn't put any of that to work, right? And it was a disaster. I mean, none of us, I didn't realize at the time because I was ignorant, but none of us had any business training. I was the only one. I was second year in business school, I guess, and taking night classes and stuff. And anyway, so basically, we were really good at making money, but we were terrible at using that money and leveraging that money to earn money for us. So let's start there. So you complete your first job, you got some profit, and the next question is, what do you do? Where do you put it? And this is where I see the mistake being made with a lot of young guys, is they try to get flashy. We're going to get new offices, or we're going to buy a widget, whatever, because that's going to make us look cool. We're going to buy a Ferrari or a Corvette or whatever, because that'll make me look successful. Nobody gives a shit about any of that in the business world. I mean, here's a little secret, and I don't mean this to sound cocky, but if you're successful in business, anybody can buy a Ferrari. I mean, or a Lamborghini. Let's be honest. I can go right now to a Lamborghini dealership. It's $2,800 a month or $3,000 a month payment. I can go to a Lamborghini dealership today and drive out in a new Lamborghini. It's not a big deal, right? And it doesn't take a lot of money to do that. I mean, it just doesn't. So what you think is a symbol of your success is actually what's holding you back, because you have this mindset of that, right? Now, I'm not telling you, if that's your hobby and exotic sports cars are your hobby, like, for example, I'm trying to get into aviation, and I really want a plane. Now, the plane, when I say plane, I'm talking small, right? I'm talking like Cessna, not private jet. We're not private jet money. We're not private jet people, okay? But there's two reasons I want the plane. One is because I think it's a really cool hobby. It's something I've got into the past couple of years, and I really enjoy it. But the other thing is, it'll help my business, because I'll be able to get from job site to job site quicker. It gives me more time at home with the family. So it's got its perks. It's a hobby that has its perks. I'm not going to knock your hobbies. But again, that goes back to you spending your cash, not your capital, right? But here's the trick. What if you had an exotic sports car leasing experience, like an experience company where you let people lease it and drive it for a day, and it's making you $2,000 a day, but it's costing you $3,000 a month? Now you own a Ferrari, but it's an asset, and you can use capital to do it. You still have the Ferrari in the driveway, or in the warehouse, or in somebody else's driveway if you're leasing it or whatever. But my point is, you've all of a sudden taken something that was a complete waste of your money and a status symbol, and you flip that into something that's earning you money. And that's where the key of all this is coming in at. So when I spoke about this RV the other night, the RV come up, it's something we wanted to do for a while. Basically, my wife and my kids, and we have a really big dog who is, like a third child. Means the world to me. I bought a house and everything for this stupid dog because, she was a mutt, and my wife brought her home, and I'm a sucker for puppies. So I fell in love with her, and now she's my baby. So anyway, so we couldn't travel with our dog to hotels because she weighs 140 pounds. She's a bull mastiff, so she's a monster dog. Very well mannered, very, very, but she's just huge, and people are intimidated by her, and hotels don't want her there. But we like to travel. So we'd been talking about doing the RV thing for a while so that we could travel. The only thing that always stopped us was it always come back to, they depreciate to zero, and it's a terrible investment, and they're overpriced, and they're, it's just insane. But then I started getting more work on the road because of COVID. So I started getting a lot of these commission projects. And before we would travel, a week every 2 months, we would take them, we would start a system up that we designed or we built or whatever. But most of the things was local. We could be home that night. We didn't do a lot of travel. It just wasn't on us. So anyway, so we got the RV. So the RV's $140,000, and that sounds terrible, right? It's like, oh my God. So after the down payments and all that stuff, and we put a big chunk down to someone. Anyway, the payment's like $500 a month. So the reason that I finally pulled the trigger is I'm getting $135 a night from my clients to be out of town, to be here, to be working for them. And I put down for lodging, not for hotels, but for lodging, right? So a campground costs me anywhere from $25 to $35 a night. So I'm making $100 a night off of the RV. This RV just became a very good asset for me, right? I mean, it's earning 4 times its monthly expense. which is huge. I mean, in a year's time, it'll almost pay for itself or almost pay itself off, not completely. But what we still owe on it, like I say, it'll pay for the for the mortgage on it, and then it'll take a couple years to recoup all of it. But still, and then my family can come and visit now, so they can bring the dog down. My wife can come down on the weekends, so it's now considered an asset, right? So that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. So a beach house, and granted, this is not for tax purposes. I'm talking about how to make cash flow come in and how to make money and how to do these things. Like if you have a vacation property, you need to talk to your tax professional, because if you use it more than like a couple weeks a year, then you have to start reducing what you're taking off on taxes. And not my world, not CPA. Okay, so just look into that. But a beach house, for example, you can buy a beach house. You can use that beach house. You get the appreciation of the beach house as it appreciates. You can put that beach house into rentals' hands and get, I don't know. I mean, I've got friends that get $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a week out of their, it's a mansion. I mean, it's a gorgeous home on the ocean. But it's over in Charleston, South Carolina. They get a fortune out of it, and they move out of it for like 4 months a year, and they rent it out, and they move inland to like a condo or something, and then they move back to it in the off season, and they're paying their beach house off. A couple more years of doing that, they'll have their beach house paid for from the income that it generates in the meantime. I mean, it's just smart business, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about. So the other thing I want to talk about, so pay attention when you're looking at something and you're trying to figure out how to justify a purchase. Figure out a way to make a liability an asset. If you start really paying attention to what you're doing, it's not hard to see how to make things capitalize for you and how to make things start paying out. I mean, it's really not hard to do. You'll see it. But another thing I want to talk about is what it takes to be in business. I see a lot of guys make the same mistake over and over. For example, let's talk about a fabrication. This is one of the key areas that pops into my mind with this. Is I know some guys who start up a fab shop, and the first thing they do is they go out and they buy the most expensive welding equipment or whatever they can buy, and they don't even have the projects to work on with it, right? So they're going out and they're spending $12,000 on a Miller TIG. Now, trust me, I would love to have all Miller welders and stuff in my shop, and my friends make fun of me because I use, like cheap, inexpensive TIG welders. One, because I TIG weld my own race car stuff, but two, we do some TIG welding from time to time on vibratory bowls or a machine we're building or whatever. But we don't need these big monster machines because it's not in our world, right? So when you go to buy equipment, pay attention to what you're doing. I would say that most businesses out there don't need the equipment they're buying. Why? Because there's somebody around the corner who will come and do the work for them. And if you think about it, so let's say you go out and you buy a $12,000 Miller welder, okay? And you've got essentially one project on the books to do, and you just spent $12,000 on the welder to do it. Now you have to, after that project's done, you have to drum up more business, and hopefully you will because you're a fab shop, right? But you have to drum up more business just to either make the payments on the welder or to pay it off, or to recoup your money on it, right? So you have to profit $12,000 at some point to break even on the transaction of buying the welder. You could have just as easily went next door and got a welder, like not a machine, but a person, a certified welder, to come over to your shop, weld that machine that you're doing up, build that into the cost of the machine, and you have no overhead, you have no expenses on it except for the cost on that project. Which means at the end of that project, whatever your profit is your profit. You're not tying that money up into other things. So be very careful on what you lay money out for. Things, I'm telling you, office stuff, chairs, desks, printers, copiers, scanners, they will eat your lunch if you let them. I mean, you start looking at $300, $400, $500 for an office chair that you're going to sit in. If you're sitting in an office chair, let me put this out there. If you are sitting in your office chair as a startup more than an hour a day, you are doing things wrong. Why? Because you're not making money in an office chair because you're not selling, at least not face-to-face selling. Now, I know in COVID times it's hard, so maybe if you're doing Zoom meetings, maybe I'll put an asterisk beside that. But if you are sitting in a chair that long that you have to get the most comfortable chair out there to keep from hurting, you're not doing your business right. Get your ass up, get out in the street, get to work, right? You're not there to sit around and waste time. Your time is too valuable. If you're billing your clients out or you're billing your company out at $500, $600, $700 an hour for you and the leverage that you have in your employees, which we'll talk about in a moment, you don't have time to sit around and waste time, worrying about, is my chair comfortable enough? The same thing for copiers. I see small businesses go out and buy like these, or lease, that's even worse. They go out and they lease these huge Xerox machines. You see them in every office, and these things are just ridiculous. Like, you can buy a new car for what some of these cost. And, I mean, I don't know anyone that needs the capacity that this thing can put out. It's putting out 300 pages a minute copying and scanning, and no one I know in small business needs that kind of throughput on a printer. It's just a waste. So, pay attention to what you're doing. One area that you don't need to scrimp on is in things that are important to your business, like your key core business. For example, my Lenovo P73 laptop is a $7,000 laptop, something like that. But that laptop makes me a fortune every day. And the reason why I went and splurged on the laptop is because it's got high-end graphics for 3D modeling for CAD. So if we're out on a machine, I'm not a CAD guy. I'm a programmer and controls guy. I do work on, my control cabinets, and I can run CAD, and I can do 3D stuff if I'm doing a machine or whatever. So I'll do layouts and stuff like that, but that's not why I bought the laptop. What I bought the laptop for is my partner, Eric, who, I don't know if you guys follow him, his name's Eric Crabtree. You should give him a follow. He is a CNC machinist, SolidWorks, all that stuff, right? And I saw no reason to buy two laptops because he doesn't need it that often. But if we're out on a job site and we need to whip a part up, for example, on the job site we are now, they needed some parts made. We have machining. It's not our equipment. We have a partner that we work with who gives us access to that equipment, and he's willing to take on emergency orders for us while we're down here. So Eric whips up the part, sends it out, it gets made, right? So we don't skimp on the stuff that really matters. So pay attention to what really matters to what you're doing. Advertising. Let's talk about advertising. Advertising is like, it's like a black hole that will absorb everything. So halftime at the Super Bowl, like a 30-second ad is like $12 million or something. I don't know. I don't remember what the numbers are, but it's huge. 20 million, something like that for an ad. Now, granted, some companies see the benefit of that. I'm sure Budweiser and Coca-Cola make a fortune off of their Super Bowl ads, right? But the question that you have to ask there is, who's already not drinking Coca-Cola, or who's already not drinking Budweiser? Like, if I'm a shareholder, I am a shareholder, then I have to ask the question, what are you trying to accomplish? When you have a brand that holds 70, 80% market share already, like a Coca-Cola does, it seems to me like there would be better. Now, I'm not a marketing major, so I could be completely off base here, and I don't want to go down the marketing rabbit hole. But my point is, I'm trying to say that, you can throw as much money as marketing. Someone will take your money to market your business. You need to be very, very careful about what avenues you use and track every single transaction. So one of the coolest things I saw when I was in the real estate business is I had a guy who mentored me in real estate, and he runs a very successful real estate team in East Tennessee. And he went to Ring Central, which is a company that you can get faxes and phone numbers and stuff through, and he bought like 60 phone numbers. I don't know, it was a bunch. Not much. It's like $5 a month if you buy them in a bundle or something like that, right? And he got all these different phone numbers, okay? And he tied all those phone numbers to direct to his line or whatever. But what he does is he tracks every time one of those phone numbers gets a call, okay? And then he uses that individual phone numbers on his marketing. So if he puts out an ad in the newspaper, he puts one phone number. If he puts an ad out online, he uses another. If he puts an ad in the front yard on a yard sign, he puts another. And that way he knows what's working for him. And the ones that don't produce now you got to give it some time. So he does, 2, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever. But if that number doesn't produce the return that it needs to, as far as, calls coming in and work coming in, he doesn't track closed business because it doesn't matter. The phone cannot help if you close the deal or not, right? You just need the phone to ring. So that's what it's about, is getting that phone to ring. So he tracks that, and if it works, he ups the money in that area. if it doesn't work, he immediately cuts it off, right? So if he puts billboards out there along the interstate and that phone doesn't ring, he'll do it for a few months and let it run its course and try it. But he immediately cuts it off and he never looks back at it, ever. He won't ever go back to it. If somebody calls him and says, hey, we got a new billboard location, nope, not doing that. Nope, it don't work for me. Doesn't work for my business. Sorry. So I would advise you to do the same thing. When you go to market your business, pay attention to what you're doing. I don't care if you're doing Saturday night impromptu comedy at a coffee shop and you're advertising your business while you're up there on stage in a shirt. When somebody contacts you, one of the things you need to ask before, it's always, hey, if you don't mind, I'm really trying to grow my business. Can you just tell me where you heard of me from? And most of the time they'll say, oh yeah, I was at the coffee shop and I heard you telling jokes and I thought you were a really cool person and I thought you'd be great to do blah, whatever you do. So in marketing, be very careful with your marketing dollars. But you have to put marketing dollars out there. I would set aside, if I was a new company getting started, I would have set aside no less than 20% of my profit. 20% of my profit would be rolled back into marketing my business of some sort, some way. Okay? So keep that in mind. So we're at 21 minutes. We're going to touch on one other topic, and that is employees. This is a huge one that you need to hear. Don't hire people. Don't hire people. Why? Because until you have enough work that you're absolutely slammed, all you're doing, if you're hiring people to do the work, is you are shortchanging yourself out of profit. Now, if you, like where I'm at now, I'm looking to hire controls guys now. Why? Because I have so much going on the sales side of my business that I could be out selling every day and cutting new deals. And instead, I'm in Alabama on a job site taking care of a client. I need to hire a role who can do what I do, who can run a job site on the control side of things and the robotic side of things and all that, so that I can focus on being out and selling. I'm not doing that so I can sit at home, right? So, but here's what you need to understand about hiring people. One, when you hire somebody, you're making a commitment to that person, just like they're making a commitment to you. So to hire somebody when you don't know if you have the revenue or you don't know if you have the means of keeping them is cruel. It's cruel. And when you do that with, now if you tell them up front, look, this is a 3-month gig and I just need you part-time, that's one thing, okay? But like, I've had people offer me jobs to move across country to come to work for them, and they want me to come there for one project. Oh, we're putting in a Pepsi, that's what it was. We're putting in a Pepsi bottling company in such and such, and we would like for you to move out here and join us. And I'm like, okay, what happens after that? And I'm like, you want me to uproot my entire life and move out there with you to put in a bottling company, which would have been really cool. And you don't have any plans after that for me? I mean, you're going to lay me off or how's it work? So obviously I didn't take this when I was in my 20s. And, I didn't take the work. They could have just as easily said, hey, we want you to bring your company out here and work with us on this bottling line, and we're paying X for you and your guys to come out here and work with us. Are you interested? So that's the thing is there's plenty of freelance people out there. There's plenty of contractors out there. It's very easy to generate a 1099 at the end of the year for somebody. QuickBooks will do it for you. I mean, it's very simple to pay somebody on a contract basis. So be upfront and honest with your people. But really pay attention, and if you add somebody, here's a key thing. If you're adding a position, that position should bring you in triple what it costs, minimum. So if you look at, like me with a controls guy, if I'm looking at $100,000 a year for a controls guy, which is what it's going to take, I mean, it's going to take something like that to get who I'm looking for with the kind of knowledge, that position better be able to generate me $300,000 to $500,000 a year in profit. I mean, that if not, I don't need to do it, right? I think it will, because it allows me to go out and sell more projects, and it allows me to book more projects. And projects are obviously pretty profitable for us. So I want to add this person. And I don't care if you're talking about a wait staff, if you're talking about a barista for your coffee shop, whatever. If that person's not adding you 3 times what their cost is, it's not worth the headache, right? It's just not. I mean, here's one that's going to be touchy with a lot of people, but don't hire family unless you absolutely have a reason. Hiring family is the quickest way to rip your family apart and put you into depression and absolutely destroy your life. you hire your brother, your sister, whatever, to go into business. And I've made this mistake of working with family. Like I said, my dad and I had a horrific falling out at one time. And I won't go into details, but basically it involved my brother-in-law, who is like a dad to me. My sister is 12 years older than me. And she married young in Tennessee. We do that thing. So my sister married at 16, so I was like 4. So my brother-in-law and my sister helped raise me. I mean, I spent tons of time with them growing up. My niece and nephew, their children are like my brother and sister in age. I mean, we're closer in age than what I am to some of my other siblings. So that being said, the time that we had a big falling out with my father, that's what it was over. My brother-in-law wanted to join the family business, and he and I wanted to go one way. My dad wanted to go another way, and it really, it really caused a lot of trouble. It caused a lot of trouble for me and my dad. It caused a lot of trouble, not really for me and my brother-in-law, but it caused a lot of drama to where we all kind of threw our hands up and just walked. And I went and done my own thing, and they did as well. And I mean, I missed, some really good years of working with my dad, and missed a lot of profit. I mean, money-wise, I missed a lot because we were rolling before then. So anyway, so don't hire family if you can avoid it. You're not doing anybody a favor by hiring family, because all of a sudden, here's what happens. You hire a family member and you're their boss at work. It changes the dynamic of the relationship when you are not at work. You'll still want to give them orders even though you're not at work anymore, and they won't want to be around you anymore because of that situation. It's just like when you loan family money, which also you should never do. Gift money all you want, but don't loan it, because, oh my God, it's going to tear you apart. So anyway, but when it comes to hiring employees, we're coming up on 30 minutes again, and I don't want to go past that. But when it comes to hiring employees, don't hire family. Contract as much as you can for as long as you can. And if you are going to hire somebody, make sure it is very lucrative to hire them. Do not bring in a person that you're going to pay, $15-20 an hour, and you're only making $22-23 an hour off of them, or $25 an hour off of them. That is going to lead to disaster. It will wreck your business. I assure you, it is not going to work. That person should be able to add a ton of value from day one, or at least after the training period. You got to give everybody a time to get acclimated. The controls guy I'm looking to hire, I expect him fully to work side by side with me for a year before, because I want to make sure that he's capable of doing what he says he can do, and what I hope he can do. But 2, I want him to see the way that we treat our clients, because the last thing I want is to turn over a job site to him and then get a call 3 days later like, hey, this guy is, he's not working with us, he's not cooperating, we really want you back out here. I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear that, because then I'm going to have to fire the guy. And, so he'll be there for a year before he gets thrown into that role. And that's a year that I'm going to lose money, most likely, because I'll be redundant for the most part. And that's just an investment I have to make into the company, right? So we'll call this part 1 of business finance. I really wanted to get into a lot more, but I like to ramble on. And again, I have nothing to do here. It is pretty today. It's like 60-some degrees here, so I've got the doors open, the window open, and it's kind of nice. But anyway, we'll call this part 1 of the business finance. We'll do another one in a couple days when my eyes get better. You can see my left eye's all gunky. But anyway, we'll go from there. I'm going to go have dinner, and I'll talk to you guys in a couple days. All right, have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye.